Hello, dividend executives. Welcome back. Today, the YieldMax ETF fund have announced their new dividends for November, and I thought it's a good time to dive into them, and then we can also take a look at what it would actually take to retire on these funds. So, if you did nothing else but just bought some YieldMax funds and participated in their high monthly dividends, would you have enough to retire if you had 250 grand or 500 grand or $1 million? So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at some of the payments coming forward and the changes from last month. So it looks like the biggest information here is the ex-dividend date is on 11/8. So you got to have your shares on before that date. And then the payment date is 11/16. And it looks like for all the YieldMax fund, it's 11/16. So the payouts will be coming on November 16th. If you own any of these, and these are some of the tickers. So you can see here on TSLY, which is a synthetic covered call options fund, on Tesla is paying 0.5846 per share, which would be 6.03 for the monthly yield, which is absolutely insane. OARK 5.51 or 36% annually. APLY 5.02 or 11% annually. That one's down quite a bit. I'm not surprised though. I've sold Apple calls myself, and the premium is not that great. Nvidia, 4.6 for the month, 23% for the year. And then I want to scroll down here a little bit to CONY, which is 4.16 for the month or 58.23% for the year, paying 1.077 per share, which is absolutely crazy. So that's a couple of those, but I want to look at the changes. Let me just jump to my tweet from this morning. Or my post on X, and let's just take a look. So I put together this graphic, just kind of shows the changes, and feel free to pause this, but this is, so we have the old payout and the new payout, and what I mean by payout is the dividend that was paid out last month for these shares, and then the dividend is paid out this month. A couple things to keep in mind here. The bottom three are brand new: AMDY, PPY, and SQY, which is on AMD, the stock, PayPal, and Square. They all did not have dividends. They're newer funds, so that's why they're reporting 0 for the old payout. And then obviously the new payout's going to be significantly higher because there was no payout last month. But a lot of green here, which means that the payouts have gone up, probably due to all the jumping around the market has done, high uncertainty or higher risk, and the options premiums reflected that. So good to see TSLY up, good to see ORK up. Not surprised on APLY, not surprised on NVDY because I was really high last month. Amazon I'm a little surprised on, but the other ones are pretty much in line with what we would have thought. Not a whole lot of movement, but you can see that there was some movement in quite a bit of these. So big move on Disney or DISO. That's their cover call fund there. And then if you wanted to look at this table, I also have it here. This table just shows all of the payouts. So you can see obviously TSLY, OARK were two of the first funds. And then they just slowly have been adding for Apple, Nvidia, Amazon, Facebook, Google, Netflix. And then the last rounds, you can see Microsoft, Zom, all these are added slowly but surely. And then the last three, the AMDY, PPY, PYPY, and Square. So that's the update on those. So let's jump into it. So I created a spreadsheet, just a quick little spreadsheet so we can kind of run some numbers. We could take a look. Again, we have the information there, and that's where I pulled it from. But let's take a look at like maybe how much it would take to retire on these funds. So let's say we'll just use, like, for example, on TSLY, as of right now, I have just over 1,250 shares. So we'll put 1,250 here. So that the capital needed, obviously it's just taking the share price times how many shares, and it's telling you how, if you were to buy 1,250 shares today, it would cost roughly $15,000. And that's going to pay out $730.75 this month. Now, these payouts do change each and every single month. It's really hard to forecast because they do change around, as you saw here. For example, TSLY changed really not even a penny, but a lot of the other ones are changing a lot. I mean, 30 cents, 26 cents, those are big changes. Even CONY, 13 cents. So yeah, they change, but it's fun to forecast. It's fun to look at and say, you know, if I had this many shares. So like let's throw a crazy number in there. I've actually seen on X people having, you know, 10, 20, 30,000 shares. So let's say if we had 20,000 shares, how much it would pay us. If we did 20,000 shares of TSLY, we would need $241,000 of capital, and it would pay us roughly $11,692 a month, which you could see right here in this cell. So $11,960. That's crazy. So let's say if you had $250,000 capital and you just wanted to go all in on Tesla, but you didn't want to buy the shares and you didn't want to trade your own covered calls or options on that fund, you could throw it into TSLY and it would pay you roughly $12,000 a month in dividend income, just purely passive. You don't have to do anything for it. That's pretty crazy to think about, honestly. Let's see. Let me just pull this up here. Let's see what like 50,000 shares would get us. So 50,000 shares would cost $606,000 and it'd pay out $29,230. That's nuts. What if we wanted to go for a more balanced approach? Let's say if we did 1,000 shares. Let's jump some numbers in here. So if we just grabbed 1,000 shares of a couple of these, let's see how much capital it would cost us, or how much capital it would cost, and what kind of dividends we could go towards. Because this is something, if you're getting to retirement, obviously you have a pretty good chunk of money, but you are looking at some type of passive approach or passive income stream. This could be one for you. Obviously, they could be highly volatile. The stock's not going to increase, but you're not in the growth phase. If you're getting towards retirement anyways, you're exiting the growth phase for the most part, and you are looking for monthly payments because you have bills to pay and you no longer have a 9-to-5 income bringing in actual paychecks each and every single week. So let's grab this. So we're just going to put 1,000 on each and every single one of these. You can already see the capital is starting to add up pretty quick. Right now we're at $166,000. Just going down the sheet. So $166,000, and that would bring in roughly $4,500. On an annual basis, that would be $53,000 of income. So if you wanted to get closer to, you know, that $70,000 to $100,000 of income, which I would assume most people would probably want to have if they're going to retire, even if they're retiring early. I feel like in today's day and age, you want between like $70,000 and $100,000 going into retirement. Hopefully at that point you don't really have a whole lot of bills, but you just never really know. So at let's see, we got what, three left. Let me just throw these in here. So what we're looking at here is we're just going to do 1,000 shares in each and every single one of these. And the reason why I'm doing this is we're basically creating our own ETF of the YieldMax funds. We're giving ourselves exposure to a lot of different environments, a lot of different stocks, both in the tech sector, in the oil industry, JPMO, even Disney, the entertainment industry, and then, you know, you have CONY, which is more in the crypto space, right? So doing 1,000 shares of all these kind of gives us exposure to all those. And you could see, so if we did that, we'd have 13,000 shares. It would roughly net us $6,500 a month. At $246,000 of capital needed and $78,000 of monthly dividends. So the cool part about this is obviously you have options with this, right? So if you had $1,000 of each one of these, it gives you good exposure to the entire market. It's going to cost $250,000, which is a goal that you can just slowly build up towards. But you don't have, let's say you didn't need all of it and you were going to reinvest this, then that snowball can continue to grow each and every single month, right? If you only took, you know, $3,000 or $4,000 of income and you let the other $2,500 reinvest, then you can really start to stack it up. Or if, let's say you wanted to go a little bit heavier on some funds, like if we did like 2,500 on TSLY, and then you wanted to go a little bit higher on something like CONY, which is a little bit riskier, but could boost your income. Yeah, just doing that on a couple of these, and then let's do NVDY if you believe NVIDIA longer term. So if we did 2,500 on 3 of these funds, that gets us closer to that $10,000 a month mark. We're at $331,000 worth of capital. We're still pretty equally distributed between some of the sectors and between all of the YieldMax funds, with only 3 of them being at 2,500, and we're talking about $9,600 of monthly passive dividend income. So this is kind of crazy. This is what I wanted to showcase and take a look at. These are just some of these YieldMax funds, but it kind of gives you just a benchmark or a goal to look forward to if you wanted to look at something like this. Obviously, there's a lot of different funds. This is just YieldMax. There's a bunch of dividend payers. We talk about it in my dividend channel each and every single week. We have, Realty Income. We have stuff like PSEC or JEPI or JEPQ or QYLD, RYLD. There's a bunch of monthly dividend payers, and there's some that use the covered call strategy that write directly at the money. There's other funds like these YieldMax funds that are using synthetic covered calls, and they're trying to price in some of the share appreciation. So there's a lot of different strategies. There's a lot of different monthly dividend payers. There's quarterly dividend payers like SCHD, or you can just go, regular ETFs, but lots of different ways to look at it. I thought it'd be fun to jump in here and look at some of the nitty gritty numbers and run some forecasting. And as you can see here, if you were to do a nice diversified YieldMax ETF by yourself, and by just grabbing all of the YieldMaxes that they have available, you can get yourself a solid $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month in monthly dividend income. With $331,000 sounds like a lot of money, but if you're talking about 20, 30, 40, 50 years of putting money aside for retirement, it's very possible to get that amount of money. So yeah, that's what I have here for today. Hopefully this was fun, just diving in here. If you have any questions or any models you want me to forecast, happy to do so. But thanks everybody for tuning in. We will be back with a couple of trading videos later this week, and we will be buying some more stocks. But thanks everybody for tuning in. Happy investing. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll catch you next time.